On this episode of BKAT Presents, we're meeting with the founders of the Full Circle Meal Program to learn about their pivot with their business model in order to help save small businesses in the area and also to coordinate and serve meals to vulnerable populations in Kitsap County. Well, hello, Steve and Corren, and thank you so much for joining me today to talk about your Full Circle Meals program.
Hi, Constance.
Hello, Constance. Thank you for having us. We look forward to it.
Tell me first, how are you two doing at home right now?
Yeah, pretty good, actually. Just busy gardening and thinking about doing some painting, you know, all the things you do when you're stuck at home.
And we are seeing our grandchildren live pretty close by, so we're able to connect with them on occasion, and that keeps us going. And the truth is, you know, a lot of people, this is new for them working at home, but Corren and I work from home probably 80% of the time anyway.
Yep.
So this is our norm in a way. We just don't go to as many meetings in town.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I work primarily from home as well, so that hasn't been too much of a switch. But having my husband home full time working as well, that is a switch.
Yeah, we are spending a little more time together than normal. So
Mm-hmm.
I tell I commute to the back office every day and pop out for lunch. So
You know, I imagine that this is such an interesting time to be a restaurant owner. What a difficult turn of events for the entire industry.
yeah, you know, and we knew things were coming. I liken it to this. We didn't even have a warning of a forecast of a storm. We woke up one day and a giant hurricane was upon us, and we weren't certain what the future was going to hold. And we were most concerned about our staff and the other restaurant people we know and the other businesses. Corren is the president of the Downtown Merchants Association in Port Orchard, and so her heart is with all the businesses there, as well as ours. But our concern was what's going to happen, and we didn't know if they were going to say we could even stay open. And we met with the staff and talked about, you know, if we have to close, we're going to give all the food to everybody. And you know, we didn't know what was going to happen next. But as we learned about our path, we started to adapt quickly and sort out a path, and we've kind of created one that seems to work for us, and we're trying to help others as well.
yeah, once we knew we could do takeout, we were determined to stay open for the duration, even if we were the last restaurant doing takeout in South Kitsap. But Steve's right. My heart is really with all the small businesses locally, and I'm really, really concerned about them.
Absolutely. There's so many varying perspectives during this pandemic to go from, and everybody's concern is so valid and so real. And you've got to work with the slice of the world that you live in and do the best you can for the people who you employ and the people who you support locally. I mean, that's a big responsibility to carry.
Yeah.
And switching to takeout, I mean, I'm sure you do takeout regularly, but this is a whole new picture of things, right? I'm sure this has changed absolutely everything for you, which means you're running 24/7 trying to make it happen. Could you explain to me a little bit about the process of going from, we'll say, your normal business model to this new Full Circle Meals program?
Well, you know I think I'll talk about a little bit about how we first started was, and Corren really had her hands in this, is working with our staff we first of all decided, you know, among the staff as a collaborative agreement, who would we furlough to unemployment that would do the best there, and who would do better if they stayed on staff. And it worked out pretty well. And then starting a strategy to hire people back, which we're doing. But we also, you know, set up a process that could provide both takeout and delivery. We have a delivery offer for ourselves and another restaurant in the market called Sue's Juice and Sandwich Bar. And so they're part of that delivery system we provide to our customers. But we started by kind of adapting to that and realizing the best way I could describe it is that the doc knew, we knew, because we and our partner, Drew McEwen, who's a wonderful man and very helpful and key to this project as well. Drew and Corren and I agreed that from the beginning, we bought the restaurant to rescue it. We're in rescue mode from the first day on this project. And so we did. We restored it, and we doubled the size staff and tripled the business. And we've never taken a dime out of that business ever. We just reinvest everything into our staff and building a better place for them. We've invested a lot of capital. And the point of all that is that theme kind of consistently came to this place, which was, so now how do we keep them employed, and how do we keep our family, our tribe, if you will, who've been with us, back in the fold? And so we knew that, to liken this, the metaphor of the storm, we knew that the dock would survive the storm and return safely to port. It might not be perfectly, it'd be battered maybe and bruised, but the dock would survive and we could grow in the future. But we were concerned about the rest of the restaurant community, not just in Port Orchard, but the more I learned in Kitsap County, when I hear stories of restaurants that are at 10% of their norm and shutting down, and people crying about, laying on the couch literally in despair, saying, what are we going to do? Our savings are gone. And so that was kind of the heart of how this all started.
Yeah. I mean, I would just stress again that we did this restaurant for the community to begin with. So this didn't seem the time to give up the ship, because we've got to have some businesses standing when it's all over. So, and then, Steve's part of the Port Orchard Rotary. They decided to pull some money together for a couple restaurants, including ours in Port Orchard, to do meals for the hospital. And we did that with their generous donation. But that's when Steve started thinking about what else we could do and pull in more restaurants. So
yeah, when we got to the point where we knew that we were trying to keep all this moving along, we decided that we could, like I said, we could make it, but we knew that there had to be a path for others that maybe didn't have. One of the things, to Corren's point, is we have such a loyal customer base, and it's not just because we think our food is good and our ambiance, all those, and our staff is wonderful. I think it's just because people know who we are, and we contribute a lot to our community in a way that people now can give it back, and that's just been so encouraging. And the first day the shutdown happened, if you will, one of our customers came in and bought $500 in gift cards. Things like that happen all the time, and people constantly every day send me messages and texts to Corren and I to show a picture of what they're buying there, and their city council members and their community leaders, and they want us to know they got us. And so once we knew we had that foundation, and Corren's point is, I was driving back from delivering some meals to the hospital in Bremerton, and I got to thinking, and it wasn't that the people there weren't appreciative. They really were, but they were also kind of, not as busy as maybe you think they would be, because this issue isn't what people think of as, 9/11 first responders, and, it's a little different. And the people who are maybe more in need aren't the ones that are visible. And the people there at the hospital and others I've helped are kind of saying, there's others out there, and we have jobs and money, and we can buy our meals, and we appreciate the morale boost, right? But my thought was, what about the invisible populations that, because this is a brand new playbook, this has never happened like this before, this isn't the norm. How about the people that are disrupted, disconnected institutionally or otherwise, that maybe don't have meals, and maybe really, frankly, just for sustenance are looking for meals? And also thinking about the restaurants, how can we connect the restaurants to be a part of that solution in a way that could keep them viable through the hardest of the storm? And like I said, I thought we were going to return to shore, but that fleet of other restaurants out there, I thought a lot of them might perish. And so I just created this thing called Full Circle Meals. We did this together, and I asked some friends in the business community about this and said, I'm thinking about doing something where we can help build restaurants and also serve the underserved. And I contacted the ARC. The ARC is a service organization, nonprofit, and they serve adult community, those who are various issues and mental or intellectually disabled. Yeah, there you go. And I knew them because when I was a youngster, when I was in college, I was a staffer at a day camp with Holly Ridge and the ARC for autistic adults, and I had a life-changing experience as a young man about that connection to that community. And so in my heart, I always thought about those folks too. So I reached out to them, and they said, a lot of our clients who normally would gather and congregate and be a part of our meals and our community are disconnected and frankly are confused and not sure what's going on. And so we started by saying, what if we could deliver 25 meals to some people? They give us, and their staff would deliver them. And I put together I call it the beta test. So the doc can make meals, and we'll charge $20, including sales tax, and we'll raise the funds. The ARC will pay for them, and they'll distribute them. And once I saw that worked, I started asking other restaurants and also asking about other populations. And within a matter of, I would say, 10 days, we raised almost $50,000 from the community, who said, this is an incredibly great idea because you're serving those who have needs, but you're also helping restore restaurants. And at the same time, we now are serving almost 300 meals a day, 7 days a week. And we have about 15 restaurants participating, and I'd love to see it be 50 restaurants participating. We've raised almost, I think now we're about $80,000. We still need another 150 or more, 200,000 to get through mid to late June, thinking that's the timeline on this. But that's kind of the snapshot, Constance, of how we got here. And it's not just me. I mean, it was just a concept, an idea. And the reason it took off is because it was something that truly did serve, we call it full circle meals. It serves those who are underserved and need meals and encouragement. And it connected restaurants in a way that could help them get back on their feet and survive, and maybe be able to be in a position to if they got PPP loans, they can maybe pay them back, or not have have them on the books. They can get them forgiven if they can get their restaurant back on track. And they can also, I found that there's a lot of gratitude from the community of folks who are giving. They're looking for a place they could contribute real time on the street, make a difference in their community, not just to write a check to some organization, but they can see pictures every day on our Facebook page or wherever of people getting meals, people making meals, restaurants. It's just so gratifying. So that's kind of how this ended up here.
And a number of restaurants, including ours, have been able to hire back some staff. We've hired one person back, and others have hired back. But our restaurant, we're actually pulling back on the program. We're doing less and less meals. We do have a good, strong customer base. That's why we really felt like we could make it just on takeout. When I say make it, I mean make it at the very survival level.
Nose above water. Yeah.
But we feel like we're doing well enough every week that we're doing very much fewer meals as part of this project and giving those meals to more restaurants. And it was really important to us that we do restaurants who from the beginning decided they weren't going to close. They were going to give it their all. They were going to do whatever they could to do takeout and stay open. And, they were the ones who needed help the most. The people who decided for whatever reason that they were going to just sit back and wait. We wanted to fairly serve the restaurants who were trying. And now, as you know, restaurants are opening up left and right. I think they woke up one day and went, oh, this is not going away. So, or at least not very quickly. So we're really happy to, and some of the other restaurants are getting in much better spaces too. So we hope to turn to them in the weeks forward and get more free meals from them as their revenues get better, or at least reduced free meals. I think for me, one of the hardest parts of this is that as we've marketed it more and more, a lot of people are reaching out to us wanting individual help, and we're really not set up to do that. We're doing this in large groups, 65 to 100 meals. And as Steve said, he hasn't really described the other populations, but we have probably 4 different populations, large group populations we're serving to, and to try to start serving individuals, delivering to individual households. But I'm trying to get the information from those people and direct them to a food bank or some other kind of community services that can work one-on-one with them, because we're not really in a position to do that.
Sure, that's a lot of coordination on an individual level that I imagine would crush your organization quickly, just in time and effort.
Well, just deliveries alone is difficult.
Yeah, go ahead, Constance.
It makes a lot of sense to be coordinating with organizations like the ARC. That's fantastic. As you said, those populations sort of fall to the wayside or out of the public eye very quickly. And what a great way to reach out to them and coordinate. What has really spoken to me, I think, about this program, and the reason I reached out to you, is that this is such a great example of relationship. Because as I said in the beginning, I think everybody has a different perspective during this pandemic, and all of them are so valid. Everybody is fighting a different fight right now. And to be able to sort of get two birds with one stone, as they say, to be helping the small business population, which is so critical to our infrastructure, and to also be serving this population who has a true need, not just a desire for a yummy takeout meal, but a real need for sustenance. What a phenomenal way to do it. I mean, kudos to you and your partners and the other organizations involved. I think it's a beautiful thing, really.
Thank you. You know, and Constance, to Corren's point, when we started, we went quickly to about 115 meals a day for the clients of the Ark, but we also were contacted by people because we let everybody know we're looking for those who have needs that we can help support if we can fund it. And here's where we are now: is we're providing meals 6 days a week to the Kitsap Rescue Missions population at the fairgrounds in Silverdale, and they had to move there. The county helped make that happen because of the protocols and where they were located in Bremerton. And so I just made a delivery, Corren and I did, on Sunday night with Commissioner Wolf, and it's really incredible to see that they had the whole pavilion. And we do 75 meals a night on weekends and 65 lunches weekdays, and then we also deliver meals to different groups. Like there's a group called Life Point Church in Bremerton that does weekly Wednesday meals for low-income families and some homeless people, and we do about 60 meals there every Wednesday for that project. And they just reported to me today, shared some of the background of their, their served, if you will, the recipients, and it's really, really touching. We also provide meals once a week to the Homeless Vet Project in Port Orchard at the Veterans Home, as well as the one group I found that are really truly front. I mean, there's more of them. I'm not saying there aren't, but the one I do know about is the staff at their Veterans Home at Retzel. There is a group of people, about 200 people there, that work very diligently in incredible, challenging circumstances and environment, not in a negative way, but in the sense of their intensity and commitment to make certain that those 200 plus veterans ever get this virus. And they're so far batting 1,000, but they're very protective of that. And so because of that, the protocols and the obligations they have for staff changes and how they have to test and do everything is so intense. It's just mentally exhausting. And so they ended up, we finally connected with them and their group. We provide breakfast, we provide dinner, and then we also do once a week a big 200-person lunch from about 4 different restaurants. And they're so appreciative. In fact, there's a banner across the room I'm looking at. They signed, all of them, this giant banner and gave it to us because for them, they are truly those frontline servants who are under incredible pressure as medical and administrative people. And it's exhausting. They can't, families come in, they can't go out and get food. They're under lockdown essentially. Mm-hmm. It's just 24/7. So it's a morale, it's a party for them, a morale boost when we show up, and they couldn't be more appreciative. So that's rewarding because we found those populations, and now we've done 3,000 meals in just a few weeks. Now we're almost to 4,000, and we'll be past that quickly. And I've got requests sitting on my desk now from multiple other sources, like senior assisted apartments where there are some issues with meal delivery there, with assisted living. Some of the assisted living staff are just making very little money and under incredible pressure because what's happened in terms of the notoriety of this virus and how it's affected those facilities. And so we're trying to support that, but it's a matter of funding. And I try to raise $5,000 a day as well when I wake up in the morning to make sure we have this funded and keep this going. And so far, we've done that. So we're thinking that we'll keep this going through at least June.
We do have a GoFundMe account. I'm sure you saw it connected with the Facebook page, but anyone who knows Steve knows that he is a bulldog fundraiser. So I just want to, give kudos to him because nearly every dollar's been raised by him. So, or by our contacts, our network, and then people who hear about it and are donating. But we have to have the money to keep the meals going.
And we don't make a dime on this. I mean, this is our commitment to the community. Our restaurant participated in the beginning and slowly is weaning off of this because we are pushing it out and we made it work. And we contributed financially ourselves over $1,000 to this. And we are I'm not trying to make a point accepting that this isn't about any objective from a financial or business perspective. It's truly working with a nonprofit who takes contributions go to them. They pay the restaurants. I just work hard to raise money and try to keep all this on track. And frankly, the ARC has an incredible staff. They have about 6 people working on this project.
But none of them are getting paid from these funds either.
This is because their world being turned upside down a little bit at the ARC. Their staff has been designated to support their clients with meals deliveries, but also they have a member named George Skirtu, who's wonderful. He's my favorite new friend, and he organizes logistically. He and I meet on Sundays by Zoom, and we go through the week schedule and restaurants, and he vets the new applicants. We're trying to add restaurants all the time, and that's a kind of a challenging process. And if you don't mind, can I address that a little bit about who's participating and why?
Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
Because some of the question is, well, how did you choose who gets to do this? And it's, well, we started with our restaurant first, of course, but also a friend of ours with a restaurant called Axe and Arrow in Bremerton, Jack Hastings and Tom and Jeremy, our friends there. We kind of were part of their beginning in a lot of ways as just supporters and friends. But they had a real connection to the veterans community and wanted to help too. And then we just started, here's the criteria, and it is subjective, but it's logical. It's restaurants that are truly trying, like Corren said, that are in need of having some additional revenues to be able to keep their doors open. And then once they get to a certain threshold, they have enough revenue to support expanding their hours and opening it up in a way that they can then bring staff back. And they have that safety net of the money that we share with them each week. And they work for it. They create these meals, and it's very extensive. But we also looked at, there's other categories, there's subcategories in the hospitality industry. I've learned, there are a new business, for example, any business that started within the year or two in the restaurant business is vulnerable, and half of them don't make it. So you already got that going against you. And now there's one restaurant in Port Orchard called the Gray House. 2 weeks after they started with new owners, this happened. So we've been very careful to help them too. They're actually starting their first meal deliveries tomorrow. They've reopened and are trying to get their hours going. But we found restaurants, we reach out to people, we ask people to contact us who are trying to make it, but also maybe are the more vulnerable ones. The other category, besides new restaurants or new ownership, are caterers. And we have a lot of caterers in our little tribe here, because caterers have a very special space, and it's really lucrative in some ways if they have normal economic circumstances. And as they said, summer is like Christmas for retail. And when all of a sudden they've got hundreds of events that they scheduled starting last year all the way through September that are going away, and they don't have the ability to pivot because they aren't really a walk-up retail establishment, and the delivery isn't kind of part of their world, all of a sudden all the options have been yanked up from underneath them. Mm-hmm. And we think caterers are really important, because not only can we help them because they're made to do this kind of thing, mm-hmm. they can also, when we get deeper into this in June, and maybe other restaurants in our group are starting to wean away from this and reestablish themselves, the caterers are still going to be waiting for the events to get reestablished. So we think caterers are a real important target for our triage, if you will, of the emergency room of the hospitality industry in Kitsap County.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It makes so much sense. And I appreciate that what you have done has been so logical in the way of serving so many different groups of people, and really just trying to keep the float up, right? You're trying to make sure everybody doesn't sink. Yeah. You're doing the best you can to create a good network of people to work with and service each of those communities. I think it's fantastic. I want to thank both of you for your hard work for the community. It's priceless. We appreciate it so much. And thank you so much for joining me on the show today. We really appreciate the close look inside what happened and how this project was born, just a month ago?
That's a month ago. Yeah. Thank you, Constance. And we appreciate all you do for the community too. We know you personally, but also BKAT, we're part of a lot of projects, and we love the fact that BKAT's always out there as part of this too. So appreciate your help.
Looking forward to seeing you in person.
Yes.
Yes. We can't wait for that day. And I would encourage anyone who's watching to go ahead and check out Full Circle Meals on Facebook, is where you'll find a lot of information. And really just, it's a heartwarming place to go visit right now in this time of need for everyone. All right. Thank you both.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, Constance. you.